What's going on there, everyone? Well, I continue to follow the Epstein case, and now we're seeing what the, what do they call it, not morticians, but the examiner, the medical examiner is finding out about, that weird autopsy, and the weird statements they said that they needed more information. Well, Epstein autopsy finds several broken bones in his neck, raising questions. Now, I just want to get into some of my personal experiences when it comes to these bunk beds in these jails. Like I said, I've been there, done that. These bunk beds aren't that high. They're maybe the bottom's right about here. So you're not going to be able to get a drastic falling hanging. You're not going to get a hanging that would generally break bones. And I know the bone they're talking about it becomes weaker over time in your age. The older you get, the weaker that bone becomes. Still, the odds of that particular bone towards his throat breaking plus others is very slim to none. Most of the time when people hang themselves in these jails, they don't actually really hang themselves per se. They kind of strangle themselves slowly. You know, they'll put the sheet around their neck and they'll lean into it, or they'll have it and they'll just kind of slouch down until it starts not really choking them, but it makes them pass out. You know, it hits the arteries on the side, makes them pass out, and then they end up dying from that. But let's get into the story. An autopsy of the late financier and accused sex trafficker. I think it's safe to say he did this. He's not just accused of it. I'm pretty sure he did it. Jeffrey Epstein revealed multiple broken bones in his neck. Two people familiar with the findings have told the Washington Post. Among the broken bones was the hyoid bone near Epstein's Adam's apple. That was that bone I was talking about that weakens with age. Such breaks can occur when someone hangs themselves, forensics experts told the Post, but they are more often associated with homicide victims who died by strangulation. That would be more consistent. Strangulation would be way more consistent, because that's when someone, you know, is coming generally from the front. People can be strangled from behind, but usually it's from the front where all the pressure is on that part of the throat. Because when you're hanging, you get more pressure up here, not necessarily around your Adam's apple. So that raises a lot of questions. And we all want the answers to these questions, because this is like the deepest little thing, you know, when it comes to deep state and all this. This could tie into all that. This is very, very unnerving. Epstein was discovered early Saturday morning when guards found him hanging in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. Attorney General William Barr, whose agency oversees the facility where Epstein died, has called his death an apparent suicide. I like how he puts apparent. Smart man. The office of Barbara Sampson, New York City's chief medical examiner, completed an autopsy of Epstein's body Sunday and listed the cause of death as pending, according to the Post. That's also not a good look for everyone who's clamoring, oh, he killed himself. They would pretty much be able to find that. They're trained to find these things. And when there's signs of maybe he didn't, everything gets thrown out the window, because now they don't know what to investigate. They don't know whether to investigate a suicide or a homicide, so they're going to have to investigate it as both. In all forensic investigations, all information must be synthesized to determine the cause and manner of death, Sampson told the Post. Everything must be consistent. No single finding can be evaluated in a vacuum. People familiar with the autopsy told the Post that Sampson's office is seeking further information on Epstein's conditions in the hours prior to his death, including video evidence from inside his jail. interviews with nearby guards and inmates, and results of a toxicology test to determine if any unusual substances were in his body. Now, I don't think anybody would poison him because he is such a high-profile person. You know, that would put definitive, you know, he was killed. It would be definitive because toxicology would find the substance. It's pretty easy to find substances that aren't supposed to be in the body. But there are a lot with very short half-lives that can kill people too. And but I don't think, I mean, obviously that's not the case here. The guy has broken bones in his neck. Something happened. The details add to the mystery behind Epstein's death, which has fueled a bevy of conspiracy theories, mostly centering around the concept that financier was killed due to the possibility of having damaging information on high-profile associates. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what almost all the country is thinking right now. And this guy did have he had a lot of information that could have brought down a lot of super elite people. Super powerful. Elite only in their own minds. Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges earlier this month after being accused of leading a sex trafficking operation shuttling underage girls from 2002 to 2005. Questions have been raised as to why Epstein, who has been placed on suicide watch in late July after reportedly being found with marks on his neck, was not more closely observed. And now the reports are saying that the officers that were supposed to be in charge of watching him were sleeping and falsifying the documents, which they should definitely be reprimanded for. I mean, this was one of the most high-profile prisoners they've ever had in recent time, and they couldn't keep him alive. It's Harkins Beck. You know, it makes me think of back in the end of World War II, when the Nuremberg trials were going on. We had what's his name? Was it Goebbels? No, it wasn't Goebbels. What's his name? Can't think of his name right now. But he was a fighter pilot during World War One. Some of y'all will end up getting the reference. But yeah, he was like the big guy. We couldn't get Hitler because Hitler was assumed dead and whatever. And a lot of the other high up Nazi officials already committed suicide. So Hermann Göring. Well, our big thing was watch him closely, because all these other high officials have committed suicide, this, that, or the other. We didn't watch him closely enough, and a couple people ended up getting real close to him. Let him get to some of his personal effects where he had a cyanide capsule and he killed himself. It kind of harkens back to that. It's like such high-profile people just not being watched properly. It's not a surprise to me at all, but because, you know, I'm a big fan of history, so this happens a lot. This actually happens a lot. More reason why you got to watch these people like a hawk. But seems they didn't want to do their job real well. Barr announced Saturday that the Justice Department had directed both the FBI and the agency's Inspector General to open probes into the death. He later ordered the Bureau of Prisons to temporarily reassign the warden at the New York Federal Prison to and place 2 staff members assigned to Epstein's unit on administrative leave. I'm pretty sure someone's going to get, I mean, they're going to be on more than leave. I mean, we could see criminal charges just due to the falsification of documents. So we could see criminal, like, negligent charges. Who knows? Will we? Don't know. Don't know. A lot of these places like to protect their own. You already see the union leader coming to defend these guards that were sleeping and falsifying documents. I don't know how you can defend that, but I get it. You were working a lot of overtime. I understand that. I do. I've had to work a lot of overtime in my life. You do get tired. But that said, you're watching one of the most high-profile people in America. You would think that both of them wouldn't sleep at the same time. Just fishy. It's just so fishy. I think we're going to learn a lot more about this. I don't know if we're ever going to learn everything. I don't know if they'll tell us the truth. The government has a funny way of keeping things secret from the people. They always have, they always will. But I'm going to continue with this because it just gets more and more interesting, and the information gets just more is coming out day by day. So we'll just have to stay with it and see what we can find. I'd love to hear your comments, and as always, like, share, and subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side.